So the van is a year old this week. Let me focus you in a little bit there. There we go. So the van is a week old this week. Happy birthday, Quin. March 3rd of last year is when we bought the van. So one of the things I wanted to do with this video this week is kind of give a year in the life of what we've experienced with the van thus far. What are the things that we would change? What are the things that we feel are working out really well? And remember, while we don't live in the van, I do drive this van every day. So this is not as though we built the van just sits in the driveway and we only take it when we go on trips. This van's on the road every day. So what are those things that we found? Just kind of go through them. The Goal Zero battery. I have a video that I've done on our Goal Zero battery setup. We have the Yeti 1400. I'll link that video in the description below. The Goal Zero or the 1400 we get about 205 ampere hours of life out of the battery, and we do have the 100 watt briefcase solar panel that goes with it. And I've been asked this before, do you think that's enough? Do you think that's working out for you? So far it has. Generally, probably I would say at least 60% of the places we've gone are RV parks that have power. So what we've done is we've just plugged in, and honestly, we really didn't need the solar panel at all. However, when we've needed the solar panel, we were at a state park back in July where we used exclusively solar. There was no power at the site. We found that if we would have been there an extra day, we would have been stretching it. And the reason for that is it just wasn't sunny every day. So one of the things we're thinking with the solar is perhaps buying a second panel to make more use of that sunny time that we do have, get a faster charge in the battery. One of the things we would change, we probably will be adding another 100 watt solar panel to make 200 watts for us. One of the things we have found out about the Goal Zero battery, while I love that battery, it's a lithium ion, it's very light. Well, very light, 70 pounds, but that's still a whole lot lighter than a typical AGM battery. But one of the things I have found with that is, because we don't live in the van, and because I'm not constantly running heat in the van, due to living in the van in the winter, when the temperature outside starts to drop into the 20s, like it is right now, the battery, when the core of the battery drops below freezing, it gets a little sketchy as far as charging it, etc. And what I have to do is, when the temperature outside starts to get into the 20s, which this year we've had a couple of stretches of that, but it actually hasn't been too bad. But what I have to do is I take the battery inside and I just let the core of it warm up. Once it warms up, the battery works fine. And when we need to travel, I just make sure that it's warmed up before I put it back in the van. For example, next week we're leaving on Thursday. We're leaving for a second trip back down to Savannah, Georgia, because Georgia, we loved you that much. Savannah, you're a rockin' awesome town, and we're coming back to visit you in a week. So we're really excited about that. We'll also be seeing our son in Charlotte, North Carolina for a couple days, and that's always a good town to party in as well. So good times will be had there. So that's the battery. Got to keep it warm in the winter. Don't let it get too cold. Not had really any issues with heat, but I think its heat rating is somewhere over 100. And I'm not letting the van get that hot inside. Generally, if I'm sitting in a parking lot or something, crack the Maxx Air Fan, and we generally don't have any issue there. It vents the heat right out the top. Which takes me to the Maxx Air Fan. Let's go there. We love the Maxx Air Fan. We did not opt for the Fantastic Fan. We went with the Maxx Air Fan, the deluxe model. It does not have the remote, but it does have reversing on it and so forth. What I really do like about the fan is we have been through some torrential downpours with it while driving at highway speed. We've had zero issues with leaks. And again, we've had zero problems, and the fan, we love it. The fan is great. The cedar tongue and groove that we put in, love it, wouldn't change it. I love the look, I love the smell. The smell is the one key part that we learned when doing the cedar tongue and groove. We initially started painting the supply of tongue and groove we had with an oil-based urethane, and it reeked. it just smelled like petroleum. You couldn't even smell the cedar anymore. We did switch to a water-based, quick-drying, like a one-coat urethane, and we found it was great. It was, you know, all of the wood in here, it has one coat on it. We had zero issues with it. It's sealed great, and we can still smell the cedar, which is really cool. So that is our cedar tongue and groove. Worked out great. The Dometic Refrigerator. I'll do a separate little video, little tidbit here in the next week. I was at the Philly RV show last week, and I was really focusing on the Class Bs there. And they had Transits there, they had ProMasters there, they had Mercedes there, they had the Mercedes Revel there, which I think is a very cool, like just an awesome looking van. Not really thrilled about the inside, but on the outside of that van, it is a sweet ride, and I would love to have a four-wheel drive van. But more on that later. What I did notice, though, about those vans when I was looking at them and going through them is all of them have the front opening refrigerators and freezers, so everything is dropping out. And it just doesn't feel like a good use of energy for me. I love the Dometic refrigerator because it's top loading. It's very efficient for us. It uses very little battery. The only issue we do have with it once in a while is in very warm weather. Let's say I'm parked in a parking lot and I'm at work and I'm in meetings all day, and it's 90 degrees outside in the van. It's warming up inside, not like overheating, but it's pretty warm in here when I get in. The refrigerator, I've learned to turn it off during those times, because what'll happen is it'll try, when it feels like it's so warm in its environment, it'll like try to start up and then it'll shut off. It'll try to start up and then it'll shut off. It just won't run. And as soon as I cool the environment down in the van, just like the battery in the cold, the refrigerator does the same thing in the heat. Once I cool it down, it works fine and I have zero problems. I did worry at one point that maybe part of my problem was the fact that my battery is in the back and the wiring for the refrigerator comes up through the ceiling, drops down this side, and the refrigerator is back here underneath this shelf. And I was wondering, like, am I getting a loss, you know, over that distance? I don't think that's what the problem is, but anyway, so we learned to get around it that way. So that's the Dometic fridge. One of the pieces Beth reminded me of, actually, when I was telling her what the topic of this week's video was going to be, she said, oh, talk about the internet. Talk about what, you know, we're constantly looking for wireless. And one of the things we do want to invest in is a Wii Boost for the van. It gets really tiring, even when we're in an RV park and I get the wireless there. It's not really the best signal. And one of our problems is we use Sprint phones. And Sprint, you need to do a better job, because every time I'm looking for some kind of boost, like the Wii Boost, etc., Verizon and all of them, they work very easily with that. But Sprint just seems like, nah, I'm not really interested in that. So we actually may be looking to switch to Verizon or another service. If you have some information on that, leave some information below in the comments on that, because I'm very interested. Especially when we're making videos and so forth from the road, I need to be able to connect and get on that. The other thing I will mention is our flooring. And while we love the flooring, we have had a problem with the flooring this winter. And let me show it to you. So not that this is terrible, and hopefully you can see on the camera this line going right down here. Now this is where two of them meet. And what's happened is, let me get this rod out of the way. What's happened is, in the cold, this one here, and like this seam here has begun to cup a little bit. It's starting to curve up. If I push, this kind of goes down. If I lift this, it's actually has separated. So it's become unlocked from one another. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to wait till it's much warmer weather to try to do something about this. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some duct tape down this seam, just to hold it in place, because it's not bad. It's not, you know, it's just, there's this ridge and I don't want to get a lot of dirt down in there, so I'm going to seal it off. And we're going to put like a little carpet or something here, like a little outdoor cushion carpet, because honestly in the colder weather this does get actually rather chilly. So we're going to do that. So So the floor, I'm not sure that I made the right decision with this floor. So other than the floor, and again, I don't know whether I would change the floor. I need to research a little more. So I'm not 100% sure whether it was a defect in that particular board. My guess is that this was weather related. My guess is because it was so cold that the plastic and the rubber, it just became brittle and it lost its flexibility. The only other thing that I think we would change to in the van, that actually we're going to change in the van, is the water pump. We got a water pump. It's not a name brand or anything. We went on Amazon, got a 12-volt water pump. It works fine, but it is so loud. So one of the things I'm going to be looking for this spring is to just change that out with a quieter pump. So aside from some of the issues with the battery, and actually I wouldn't really call them issues, there are things we've learned about the battery. One of the things actually Beth was saying that we would kind of like to add to the battery, we thought it would be interesting, is to add a charge circuit. So when we're driving, the battery can charge while we're driving. Because even when we go to an RV park that we don't have power at, and which is some of the state parks when we're fly fishing, we're driving sometimes to some of the fishing spots or some of the streams that we're fly fishing on. So it'd be nice to just have that quick charge while we're on the road. And, you know, hey, let's face it, sometimes, you know, if you're using solar, you're on the road and it's not sunny, and that's a problem. The lighting we put in, loved the lights. I wish I had put an extra dimmer switch in, but when we were ordering switches for these, literally I could only find one dimmer switch. Everybody else was sold out, everything was back ordered, so we're surviving with that. But aside from that, you know, we love the van, and it's been a blast this year, even though we've spent more time building it than we have traveling in it, but we finally have begun to travel in it, and we're really enjoying that time on the road with it. So we're looking forward to our trip next week. Speaking about that, until then, that's all I have for this week. Until then, peace everybody. We'll see you on the road. Spring is here, just around the corner. I say that, but it's 20 degrees out and we have 5 inches of snow. So, but it's coming. Any second it's coming, I swear. Anyway, peace. We'll see you on down the road. Bye-bye, everybody. How's that for a van life view at 20 degrees?